Hey guys, so the ability to stand upright and walk and run about is pretty unique to our species. We're the only species that is able to stand up, free our head and our hands, look about the world, and reach out and create. We have these opposable thumbs and we got these big peepers, and we're the only ones that are able to go out and do things with them in the way that we're able to. So our ability to walk, our ability to run, and in particular walk upright, is very unique to our species. And not only is that special in that we're the only ones that seem to be able to do it on planet Earth, but it's also very special in that it's a big part of our ability to regulate, our ability to be well. Not only is the ability to do it fluidly and easily a sign of well-being and health, but doing it regularly, doing it fluidly, and doing it in the manner that I'm going to demonstrate in this video is a way in order to allow for well-being, in order to support regulation on a bunch of different levels. And so what I'm going to go through in this video is demonstrate some key points that you can start listening for, and to make sure that the way in which you're walking about in your day is the way in which it serves you the best. Alright, so human beings, we are built to compensate, and no place is that expressed any better than in our gait. And in fact, they've done some really interesting studies where they put exoskeletons on human beings and frozen up parts, made it so they can't move through knees or hips or shoulders or parts of their body, and then ask them to sort of drag things throughout a room, and very quickly, not even within a minute, folks are able to compensate and learn how to make this new limited body of theirs work and to make the task really efficient. So we're built to compensate, and most especially in our gait. And what I'm going to go through are some key points for you to start listening for, to make sure that the way in which you're walking isn't compensatory and it's supporting a lot of bodily processes for your comfort and your well-being. So what we're going to look at is to see, can you take on the characteristics of mature, healthy, adult human gait. And the thing is that adult human gait differs from that of a child. Once we shoot up in puberty, our legs and our torsos, they become much longer than they were pre-puberty. And so there is a lot more shifting that is necessary and able to happen for an adult as opposed to a body of a pre-adolescent child. So we want to differentiate between what a pre-adolescent, what a toddler will look like, and what an adult will look like. And what I'm going to address is what an adult should ideally look like walking about. Alright, so what are these components that you want to make sure that you've got going on when you're walking about? Well, number one is don't look down. This is a thing that comes on for multiple reasons, and I touch on it in other videos, but the big thing for you to start making sure is that your gaze is generally forward, looking out at the world. And not just your eyes looking forward, but your face in general, and where you can really feel that is at your throat. So as you're walking about, you want to make sure that your gaze is forward, looking out at the world and the horizon, and that your throat is open and it's not locked up with eyes just looking upward via your skull at the world. If your gaze is looking down, well, you're not going to see where you're going. It's not as good of a life. And if you've got a locked up throat, well, the problem is that doesn't allow your body underneath your head to move around very much at all. It ends up locking up your top couple vertebrae, and so we don't have the ability to shift around below our head when we're in this state. So the throat needs to be open and the gaze forward in order to allow the body to move freely underneath it. Alright, the second component is if we drop below that head, that neck, that gaze, we need those arms moving. And this is a big deal, and a lot of folks in our modern day, in this first world that we've got going on, do not move their arms when they're walking around. And a big thing to keep in mind is that there was a Seinfeld episode a bunch of years back that literally poked fun at an individual that did not move her arms when she walked around. It was comedy at some point some decades prior, and now it's actually normal. So what do I mean arms got to move around? Well, your arms should move just as much as your legs do. So whatever degree that your stride opens up at your legs, your arms should as well. And not only should they open up just as much, but it should be equal on both sides. So we want an opposite arm and leg gait going on, and it is just as much on the right as it is on the left. Now below those arms, what we want to make sure is that the way in which you're walking is heel-toe. That is general human gait. The heel touches down, we roll onto it, we got our full weight through that foot, and it just rolls onto the next. So not shuffling, not walking up on your toes, heels never touching down, and not shuffling the feet where we're essentially just kicking and scuffing, and we're kind of breaking with every single step. So the big three components would be gaze forward, face, aim forward, throat open, arms moving as much as your legs, an opposite arm and leg, and you've got a heel-toe action going on to the way that you're walking about. Now, there are some ways in which to easily be aware of these things, and there's some ways in which to practice these things, but the big thing to keep in mind is to just note that this is not only ideal, but this was actually normal at one time, and it's now become not a commonplace thing in our modern day for multiple factors. But, however, it is very normal and very ideal for an adult to be able to look about at the world, not have to look down, have both arms moving fluidly, and it's just heel-toe the whole time. So what we want are some ways in which we can gently listen for whether or not this is going on without tightening up. And the simplest thing for you to do is to start at the top and work your way down. So when you're walking around, just notice where your gaze is at. That is the first and most important thing. If your gaze is down, you're not going to be able to move freely below that head and neck. So lift the gaze up and look around at the world and just start noticing how often that may or may not happen. As you're walking around, see the world going past you. That's a very important thing for you to perceive that happening. And as you can see the world going past you and be aware of your periphery, not just your direct vision, that allows you to more easily and fluidly monitor whether your arms are moving or not. And that would be, as you're looking forward, you should be able to see a bit of your hand appearing out of the corner of your eye as you are walking. So as that right leg goes forward and that left hand as well, you should see that left hand just gently appear in the corner of your eye. Not way out there, but just there. And you have to be aware of your periphery and the world around you to pick that up. And that's also a gentle way to just monitor, is this moving as much as it serves you? Now as you get the vision facing forward and your awareness a bit more on the world around you, and you're able to see whether or not these hands are actually moving, these arms are actually moving, then you can drop down and really listen to your feet. And what you want to do is to feel the ground underneath your feet. You want to feel all of the ground. If you're walking around on the outside of your feet, you're not going to feel your arches, you're not going to feel your whole foot, you're just going to feel like you're walking around on stilts. So you want to feel the whole ground, your whole shoe, the whole surface that is underneath you, and you want to feel your weight just roll over that foot in a heel-toe sort of manner. So these are things to listen for and to just try to make happen very gently, but you want to start at the top and work your way down. Because if you only focus on your feet and try to walk heel-toe, but those arms aren't moving and that gaze is down, it is never going to work out and you're going to be miserable trying to make it happen. Now, beyond just general awareness of how you're walking about, there are some simple ways in which you can practice this. And what I'm going to show you is a simple exercise that does not require any equipment that just about any of us can take on. And it is not the only exercise to practice fluid gait, but it's a simple one that you can just get started with. And what it essentially is walking backwards, toe, heel. And you pause at each step just to listen to what is or is not happening. And so what it would look like is you can do this in a hallway where you may have a space of time to walk and you can put a finger on the wall if there's any sort of an unsteadiness. You want to do this in an area where you can be aware of traffic, or at least have traffic controlled. You don't want to be uptight, wondering what you're going to bump into or who you're going to be bumping into. But keeping your gaze forward, what you do is you step back with a foot, regardless which one, and then you go toe heel while you're reaching the same arm forward. So if your right leg reaches back, your right arm reaches forward. And you just want to reach enough so you can see it appear in your gaze while you stay facing forward. And the opposite arm, lefty here, we want reaching back. But the most important thing is get toe heel, your weight through that foot, that right arm reaching forward, and that gaze facing forward. And you just feel your weight straight through that leg underneath you, and then you go toe heel to the other side with your left arm reaching forward as your left leg reaches back, and your gaze stays forward, and then righty as well. And so toe heel, like so. The pause you want is with your weight through the leg that is down and underneath you. And it's where all of your weight is accepted through the leg, and you get a lot of feedback, of pressure through your body, of pressure through that foot. So it's a place that can give you a lot of gentle information when you're walking around without having to listen too hard. So you simply pause and pause. It's like a really weird, slow moonwalk. And reps don't really matter. It's kind of like this. It's you learning how to listen for these parts of gait. And what works really well is you do a handful of reps on each side. Notice if one side is more awkward than the other. Notice if it's kind of odd in order to feel that much weight through a leg at any period of time. Is it odd to reach those arms that far? Is it hard, period, just to keep your gaze forward? And after doing this a handful of times, then walk heel toe forward and see, does it feel different? Sometimes the only difference is your awareness, and other times you may feel as if that fluidness, that fluidity is actually occurring more easily in the immediate moments after practicing this. So this is a drill to simply light up your awareness and call some awareness to where some of these components may or may not be happening, and then give you a way to work on it, and then go for a walk. And don't walk on a treadmill, go outside. Now, I hope that this is helpful. Let me know if you got any questions. Let me know if any sort of problems come up as you're trying these things out. Regardless, I hope you're well. I hope you're walking regularly and freely, and it feels great. Regardless, talk to you soon.